Imagine you're hungry. Not just regular hungry, but the kind of hunger that comes after walking through snow for 6 hours, in clothes made of animal skin. Your fingers are numb. Your jaw aches from the cold. And right now, all you have is raw meat, some tubers you dug up 3 days ago, and absolutely no way to boil water. So what do? You can't cook it. Or can you? Here's the thing about history that most people get wrong. They assume ancient humans were stupid. They assume that without modern kitchens and ceramic pots, people basically ate everything raw and got sick constantly. But that's not what happened. Between 40,000 and 10,000 years ago, during the last glacial maximum, when Earth looked like a frozen hell, humans didn't just survive, they developed cooking methods so efficient that some survival experts today are still trying to replicate them. And the crazy part? They did it all without a single pot. This is the story of how our ancestors figured out the one thing that separated them from starvation, making food edible when the world was literally trying to kill them. Let's start with why cooking even mattered back then. You've probably heard that cooking made us smarter, helped us digest food better, and basically unlocked human potential. That's true, but during the Ice Age, cooking wasn't a luxury, it was survival. Raw meat spoils in days, sometimes hours depending on the temperature. Roots and tubers are hard as rocks when they're frozen, and your stomach can't break them down. Bone marrow, which was packed with calories, is locked behind thick calcium you can't crack with your teeth alone. Between 30,000 and 20,000 years ago, climate records show that some regions dipped to minus 40 degrees Celsius. That's the kind of cold where exposed skin gets frostbite in minutes. In these conditions, finding food was one problem. Making it edible was another. And here's where most people think Ice Age humans had no solution. They're wrong. The earliest evidence for deliberate cooking during the Ice Age comes from something so simple it's almost insane. Rocks. Hot rocks. Here's how it worked. You'd find stones ideally, ones that didn't have water inside them, because those would literally explode when heated. You'd heat them in a fire until they were radiating heat so intense you couldn't touch them. Then you'd use sticks or antler tools to grab them and drop them into a container. And yes, we know this happened because archaeologists have found evidence. At sites like Bluefish Caves in Canada, dating back 24,000 years, researchers discovered rocks with thermal fracture patterns that only happen when you heat stone, and then cool it rapidly by dropping it in liquid. But here's the clever part. You didn't need a pot. You needed a hole. A simple hole in the ground, lined with animal skin or plant materials, could hold water. You'd heat rocks in the fire. This took maybe 20 minutes. Then drop 3 or 4 into your hide-lined pit of water. The water would boil, not gently, violently. Within minutes, your meat was cooking. Your tubers were softening. Your bone could be broken down to extract the marrow inside. Archaeological sites in Europe and Siberia show clay impressions of these cooking pits, dating back to 15,000 years ago. That's older than agriculture. That's older than permanent settlements. And it worked so well that some indigenous cultures in North America and Australia still used variations of this method into the 20th century. But hot stone cooking has a limitation. It only works if you have water or a liquid. What if you wanted to roast something? What if you had limited water and needed to preserve it? That's when a second method emerged, and this one is even more ingenious. It's called earth oven cooking, and it's essentially a pit-based convection oven, built entirely from natural materials. Here's how they built one. You'd dig a hole about 2 feet deep. You'd line it with hot stones that had been heated in fire. Then you'd wrap your food meat, tubers, entire small animals in leaves. You'd place that wrapped food on top of the stones. Then you'd cover the whole thing with more leaves, sticks, and soil. The heat trapped inside would slow cook your food for hours, sometimes 6 to 8 hours, depending on how much you were cooking. The evidence for this is indirect but compelling. At sites like Monteverde in Chile, dating to 14,500 years ago, archaeologists found charcoal patterns and burned seeds, arranged in ways that suggest systematic pit cooking. The site shows these weren't random fires, they were carefully constructed. Cooking areas used repeatedly, season after season. What makes earth ovens brilliant for the Ice Age is that they're fuel efficient. You're not constantly maintaining a fire like you would with open flame cooking. You dig once, you load it, and the residual heat does the work. In harsh climates where wood is scarce, like in some regions during glacial periods, when everything is tundra, this method meant you could cook meals while using minimal fuel. Now here's where it gets weird. Some evidence suggests Ice Age humans used a method. That's basically a low-tech version of a slow cooker. And we know this because they left behind something unexpected: soup bones. At sites in Europe dating between 30,000 and 20,000 years ago, archaeologists consistently find animal bones that have been cracked, open in very specific ways. The breaks aren't random, they're deliberate, designed to maximize the surface area of the bone marrow inside. Why would you do that if you were just eating the marrow raw? You wouldn't. You'd do that if you were making bone broth. And here's the catch. You can't make bone broth without sustained heat over time. We're talking 4 to 6 hours minimum. You need a container that stays hot. So how did they do it? The answer appears to be a combination of methods. They'd heat stones, drop them in a pit lined with hide, add the cracked bones and water, then cover it with more stones on top to trap heat. The difference between this and simple hot stone cooking is that they'd keep adding stones to maintain temperature. They essentially created a situation where the pit never cooled below boiling. A single cooking session could produce multiple rotations of hot stones over 6 hours. The result was collagen breaking down into gelatin, bone mineral, becoming available, and calories being extracted from something that would normally be trash. We know this worked because bones found at these sites show chemical markers consistent with long-duration cooking. The calcium distribution in the bone changes when it's exposed to sustained, prolonged heat in acidic water. Exactly what happens when you make broth. Here's what blows my mind about all this. These weren't desperation techniques. They weren't primitive attempts that happened to work. The consistency of these methods across different continents, different time periods, and different climates suggests that Ice Age humans had figured out something we take completely for granted. They understood heat transfer. They understood that indirect heat is more efficient than direct heat. They understood that you can control cooking temperature by managing the rate at which you add heat sources. These are the same principles that modern cooking schools teach, and our ancestors figured them out without a thermometer, without written instructions, without anything except observation and experimentation. Between 25,000 and 15,000 years ago, when the climate was most brutal, cooking technology actually improved. The pits got bigger. The evidence for repeated use at the same sites gets stronger. This wasn't accidental. This was innovation under pressure. This was humans saying, "We're going to survive this," and then actually doing it. And here's the thing that really separates Ice Age humans from just barely surviving. Cooking didn't just make food safe. It made food edible in ways that raw food never could. A tuber that's been pit-cooked is easier to digest. It releases more calories. Bone broth provides not just calories, but also minerals your body desperately needs in a harsh environment. Roasted meat is easier to chew, easier to digest, and lasts longer before spoiling. By cooking their food, Ice Age humans expanded what they could eat. They could eat tougher plants. They could extract nutrition from bones that would otherwise be ignored. They could safely store prepared food for longer. In a world where food scarcity could kill you in weeks, these advantages weren't minor. They were the difference between thriving and starving. And evidence supports this. Human populations during periods when cooking technology was most developed actually grew. Bone density and skeletons improved. Signs of malnutrition decreased. The more sophisticated the cooking methods became, the healthier the people using them got. So here's the answer to the original question. Without pots, Ice Age humans cooked, using the one thing they had unlimited access to: Earth. Fire, water, and stones. They built containers from the landscape itself. They engineered temperature control through trial and error. They created systems that were so efficient that modern archaeologists are still figuring out exactly how sophisticated these systems were. What seems impossible when you think about it. Cooking elaborate meals in a frozen wasteland without any modern tools becomes obvious once you understand the methods. It's not rocket science, it's something smarter. It's the kind of innovation that only comes when you have no other choice, and you're determined to survive anyway. The next time you turn on your oven, remember that every single person before you who understood heat and cooking was working with the same basic principles. They just had to figure it out first.